Hello, everybody. I am pleased to welcome you all to the Safe Routes Academy. My name is Bill Riviere, and I'm the State Safe Routes to School Coordinator from the New Jersey Department of Transportation's Bureau of Safety, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Programs. The Safe Routes Academy features hands-on, interactive sessions to help participants make their communities more walk and bike friendly for all users. I would like to thank the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition for their partnership in helping us to bring this and the other Safe Routes Academy sessions to you. Now, before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping details. First, this session is being recorded, and after the summit, the recordings of this and all the other Academy sessions will be made available on the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition and the New Jersey Safe Routes websites. Second, in order to move today's session along, we would like everyone to use the Q&A function for questions. This session features a panel of NJDOT experts who will talk about the New Jersey Department of Transportation's 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan, which includes goals, objectives, performance measures, and a specific bicycle and pedestrian emphasis area to guide safety programs and investments and reduce highway fatalities and serious injuries on all public roads. We will begin with an introduction from Andy Swords, Director of the New Jersey Department of Transportation's Division of Statewide Planning. Next, Khalid Sheikh, NJDOT Section Chief and Project Manager for the Strategic Highway Safety Plan and the Bureau of Safety, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Programs, will provide details on the mission, vision, and objectives of the plan and discuss the structure and process of seeing the plan through to implementation. To round out our presentation, Elise Bremer-Nye, Bicycle and Pedestrian Coordinator with the Bureau of Safety, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Programs, will talk about the bicycle and pedestrian emphasis area of the plan that is focusing on improving safety for people on foot and bike. Our Q&A will be moderated by Leanne Von Hagen of the New Jersey Safe Routes Resource Center at Rutgers University. I hope you join us for all our Academy sessions this week. You can still sign up on the Bike and Walk Coalition's registration page. We'll now hear from our first presenter, Andy Swords.
Thank you, Bill, and good afternoon, everyone. The New Jersey Department of Transportation is pleased to sponsor the 2021 Safe Routes Academy and to support the work of the New Jersey Safe Routes Resource Center at Rutgers University. NJDOT plays an important role in enhancing the quality of life for the state's residents and the traveling public. New Jersey's transportation network and roadway system are the lifeblood of the state's economy, but that network must serve all roadway users. The department's #1 priority is to improve safety for all, including our most vulnerable roadway users. These are people who walk and bike, and especially our children and seniors, people with disabilities, and people who live in areas not well served by transportation options. It is our responsibility to maintain a road network that is connected and efficient, to focus investment to keep our infrastructure in a state of good repair, stimulate smart development and economic growth, employ the latest technologies to adapt to changing conditions and environments, respect and protect the distinctive and delicate character of the state's natural resources, and embrace our role as a customer service organization. Our commitment to communities includes informing and collaborating with our customers. We seek to be responsive to the needs of New Jersey municipalities and counties, not only through road and bridge repair and maintenance, but through funding of local projects that improve mobility and safety for all roadway users of all ages and abilities. We celebrate our commitment to communities, a commitment to help accomplish roadway improvements at the local level through our local aid grant programs. We provide funding for county and municipal aid projects, bikeways, safe streets to transit, transit villages, and administer federal funding for safe routes to school and transportation alternatives set-aside projects, as well as for the local safety high-risk rural road program. Our commitment to communities includes supporting innovation and changing the way we do things when those methods no longer work for our employees or the public we serve. Through our Bureau of Safety, Bicycle, and Pedestrian programs, we support the New Jersey Safe Routes Resource Center and the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center at Rutgers University. The Safe Routes Resource Center partners with schools, school districts, and communities to prioritize and implement opportunities for students and youth to walk, bike, or travel by other wheeled devices and create conditions that are safe, healthy, equitable, and appealing for them and for all. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center assists public officials, transportation and health professionals, and the public in creating a safer and more accessible walking and bicycling environment through research, education, and dissemination of information about best practices in policy and design. Our efforts and the goals and objectives of the New Jersey 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan are focusing particularly on those communities that are historically disadvantaged, such as minority populations, economically depressed communities, and those who are differently abled. Through the 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan, New Jersey DOT is promoting safety. Moving toward zero deaths on New Jersey's roads is the agency's first priority. The plan is the work of many individuals and organizations, and through the involvement of many partners and the sharing of diverse perspectives, we have a living document and an ongoing process that address the key areas of concern. We are already working to implement the Strategic Highway Safety Plan to improve the lives of the state's residents and those traveling through the state. We know we can't do this alone. I'm so happy to see so many people here who are passionately working to make this vision a reality along with us. Next, you will hear from Khalid Sheikh, who will give more details on the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. I would like to thank the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition for inviting us to speak today.
Great. Thank you so much, Andy. Next, we're going to hear from Khalid Sheikh, who will give an overview of the full Strategic Highway Safety Plan. So thank you, Khalid.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us at the New Jersey Bike and Walk Virtual Summit. We will discuss the New Jersey 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan update during this session. So what is a strategic highway safety plan? A strategic highway safety plan is a 5-year plan to drive down fatalities and serious injuries on all public roads, with an emphasis on those areas that provide a greatest opportunity for a positive impact on safety. The development of the plan considered all 4 E's: engineering, infrastructure, enforcement, education, emergency response, and a special focus on the 5th E, equity. We need to make sure that equity is considered in all efforts to implement the 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan. This means that those living in underserved communities may require special consideration and/or additional focus or assistance when it comes to having a safe transportation environment, whether it be walking, biking, driving, or using a wheelchair. Why do a strategic highway safety plan? The Federal Highway Administration requires states to develop and update their strategic highway safety plan every 5 years as a condition to take advantage of Highway Safety Improvement Program funding. FHWA apportions approximately $60 million each year to New Jersey for safety-focused infrastructure improvements on all public roads, so it is important for us to update this plan. But the completion of the plan is not just about accessing funding, it is really about bringing transportation agencies, law enforcement agency responders, safety advocates, and educators, and other safety stakeholders together to work to reach toward zero deaths. The plan helps with better coordination, integration amongst many separate initiatives, such as the Zero Deaths Initiative, state, regional, local initiatives, and health and education initiatives. We can also speak with a unified voice to the public. The approach for all strategic highway safety plan is to engage and collaborate with a broad cross-section of safety stakeholders through multiple meetings and safety summits. The plan is comprehensive across all public roads. It is coordinated with other plans. The plan is data-driven, meaning that the best available crash data and other relevant data, such as health and economic data, are analyzed to set priorities. The plan sets goals and objectives to drive and measure performance. The plan establishes prioritized emphasis areas and strategies for a performance-based approach. What's the difference for the 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan update? The initial Strategic Highway Safety Plan was developed in 2007. The first plan update was completed in 2015. The 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan is the second update. And as can be expected, the plan has evolved with each update cycle. Given that over half of the fatalities and serious injuries in New Jersey occur on county or municipal roads, a stronger effort was made with the 2020 plan update to involve county and municipal representatives. There has been better coordination, integration with all agencies through various stakeholders, meetings, and the organizational structure of the plan development. There has been increased focus on plan implementation. New Jersey established a strong management structure to accomplish the objectives of the New Jersey 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan. We want to do everything we can to make sure that the 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan update has full support from top leadership to the broad range of safety stakeholders. These diagrams illustrate 4 levels of support for the plan update shown on the left that includes an executive committee, steering committee, emphasis area teams, and the safety stakeholders. The executive committee provides support to the initiative and ensures resources are available. It is chaired by the Commissioner of Transportation at NJDOT and includes executive leadership of other key state agencies, as well as representation of federal agencies, New Jersey counties, New Jersey municipalities, and state and local law enforcement. The steering committee provides input and guidance on key documents and the process. It is a larger group with representation from federal, state, county, regional, municipal, and nonprofit organizations. The emphasis area teams are the engine of the whole initiative. They develop the strategic highway safety plan action plans and are working on implementation of the same. The safety stakeholders include all agencies, organizations, as well as the general public. Their role is to provide input and support during the development and implementation process. The core working group shown to the right is the management team of NJDOT, New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety, Federal Highway Administration, and the consultant team. Since September 2019, everyone has worked diligently for the plan development and implementation. This process involved 3 safety summits, each attended with approximately 200 attendees. Emphasis area team meetings, New Jersey 2020 SHSP report completion, and now we are working on the plan implementation. The first safety summit was held to share information and gather input regarding top safety issues. Emphasis areas were identified based on this input, which were later approved. The second safety summit identified lists of strategies and priorities for the emphasis areas. Several emphasis area team meetings were held to identify and prioritize actions pertaining to strategies for each of the emphasis areas. The third safety summit was held virtually to share the action plans developed by the emphasis area teams with all safety stakeholders. A final report with the plan update was completed and submitted in August 2020. As I mentioned earlier, we are now in the implementation phase of the plan that will continue till August 2025. The New Jersey 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan mission, vision, and overarching performance goals were established in a consideration of current crash trends, laws, and technology. The mission is to reduce fatalities and serious injuries using all of the 5 E's. Moving towards zero deaths is an achievable vision through the integration of safety countermeasures, advancement in technology, and a positive safety culture. The overall goal for the plan is to reduce fatalities, serious injuries, and total injuries by 14% over the next 5 years, which amounts to a 3% reduction per year. So what is an emphasis area? It is a safety-related focus area which will require goals, objectives, strategies, and actions to be achieved over the next 5 years. The 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan established 7 emphasis areas based on the most prominent crash contribution factors and the greatest potential to reduce fatalities and serious injuries. Input from the safety stakeholders along with crash data was used to establish these emphasis areas. The 7 emphasis areas are acuity, lane departure, intersections, driver behavior, other vulnerable road users, pedestrians and bicyclists, and data. The driver behavior emphasis area combines the groups of high-risk driver behaviors, such as drowsy, distracted drivers, impaired drivers, aggressive drivers, unbelted drivers and occupants, unlicensed drivers, and heavy vehicle drivers and owners. Similarly, vulnerable road users were combined into one emphasis area encompassing mature drivers, younger drivers, motorcyclists, work zone workers, and other workers. The emphasis area teams work to develop action plans that include goals, objectives, strategies, and actions for each of the emphasis area. The emphasis area teams identified over 150 actions to be advanced as part of the 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan update. Of these, 35 priority actions had advanced for implementation year 1. Emphasis area teams meet regularly and are working on completing the priority actions. The emphasis area teams will also be sharing work products with the steering committee and executive committee for input and approvals. I would like to express my thanks to all the safety stakeholders for their participation throughout the process, and especially to those stakeholders who have actively participated on one or more of the emphasis area teams. Your input has been tremendously valuable, and I hope that you will continue to participate over the coming years. As I close, I would like to mention that if you have not been involved but have an interest in participating on any of the emphasis area teams, please reach out to me at the NJDOT and we'll get you involved. My contact information is on the screen. You can call me at 609-963-2233, or you can email me khalid.sheikh@dot.nj.gov. You can also contact us at our website, saferoadsforallnj.com. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Khalid. So next up is a presentation by our statewide bicycle and pedestrian coordinator talking about the emphasis area part of the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, and that is Elise Bremernai. So give me a moment to get her set up. Okay.
All right.
Make sure the screen is good here. Oh, sorry, 1 second.
You can do the presentation for me, Leanne, if you want.
I could try. Let's see. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that, Elise. So
Okay.
go ahead and take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Elise Bremernai. I'm a licensed professional planner in the Bureau of, you guessed it, safety bicycle and pedestrian programs at the New Jersey Department of Transportation. Our bureau is located on the planning side, but we work closely with almost every other unit within the department, as well as with many, many stakeholders outside of DOT. I came to NJDOT 20 years ago after working at the Monmouth County Planning Board and then a private engineering firm. My work at the department is guided by the principle that walking and biking are healthy and economical modes of transportation that should be safe, secure, and convenient options for everyone. Although progress has been made and many communities in New Jersey recognize the value of walking and bicycling, there remains a need for resources, guides, and technical assistance to help make walking and bicycling safer, easier, and more appealing all across the state. Pedestrians and bicyclists are the most vulnerable roadway users and are more susceptible to suffering serious injuries and fatalities when involved in a crash. People who walk and bike to get around account for 25% of all crash-related fatalities and serious injuries in New Jersey from 2014 through 2018. However, in the past 3 years, pedestrians and bicyclist deaths have accounted for 34% of all motor vehicle crash fatalities. The FHWA recognizes New Jersey as a pedestrian and bicyclist focused state due to our large number of pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities. This isn't good. But focused state designation provides additional federal resources to eligible states to address the nation's most critical safety challenges. The pedestrian bicycle focus area concentrates on cities and was adjusted in 2015 to also include bicyclist fatalities, in addition to pedestrians. The selection criteria was also changed to include the 20 cities with the highest number of pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities. Every state that has at least one focus city is designated a focus state. You can see from this map that New Jersey is also an intersection focus state. Over 70% of traffic crashes that killed or seriously injured a pedestrian or bicyclist occurred in the northern region. Essex, Bergen, Hudson, Ocean, and Monmouth counties had a higher incidence of these crashes than did any other counties in the state. 31% of pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities and serious injuries occurred on state roadways. 28% of these crashes occurred on county roads. Very few occurred on local roadways. Crash data analysis shows that 12% of pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities and serious injuries were recorded as hit and run crashes, meaning that out of every 10 drivers who injured or killed a bicyclist or pedestrian, one of those drivers left someone lying in the road. With hit and run situations, it's likely the driver was doing something they shouldn't have been. But we don't know if they were speeding or driving impaired, distracted, or unlicensed. In addition, you can see that another 24% is categorized as unknown. We have no information on the factors involved in crashes labeled this way. This lack of complete data impacts how we categorize these crashes, which impacts how we prioritize our funding. Almost a quarter of crashes where peds were killed or seriously injured occurred at signalized intersections. Now, for some of the other categories, reporting has sometimes been flawed for crashes where pedestrians were crossing at unmarked crosswalks at intersections or at mid-block locations. And there are almost always stories behind the data that the NJTR1 form doesn't allow a responding police officer to record. For example, that the pedestrian didn't have much of a choice when they attempted to cross at mid-block because an intersection or cross street was nowhere near. Crash statistics for pedestrians and bicyclists show that risk is not evenly distributed. Crashes resulting in fatalities and serious injuries disproportionately affect certain groups, including minorities and people with disabilities. This graph shows that fatalities and serious injuries were highest for pedestrians and bicyclists in the 65 and older age range, and higher for men compared to women. Crash records give you a victim's age and gender, but they don't tell you about their education, income, level of transit dependency, or if they are living with disabilities. We need to do a deeper dive into the data if we want to see all the factors that go into crashes involving people walking or bicycling, and if we want to know how to prevent them. In looking at all factors of who is seriously injured or killed on our roads, New Jersey's 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan recognizes the need to create an equitably safe transportation network. Equity in transportation decision-making considers the diverse segments of the population which may be unduly impacted by or historically underrepresented in the transportation decision-making process. Equity in transportation seeks fairness in mobility and accessibility needs of all community members. It includes evaluating circumstances that impact a community's mobility, connectivity, and safety in determining the measures needed to develop an equitable network. And it recognizes the importance of providing traditionally underserved communities access to opportunities. We want to ensure that highway safety investments in New Jersey are inclusive of the interests of traditionally underserved population. This includes using data to identify underserved populations. Data is an emphasis area in this update to the SHSP, and last year, for the first time, equity was one as well. Of course, the emphasis area we're all interested in today is pedestrians and bicyclists. The goals of this emphasis area is simply to eliminate pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities and serious injuries on all public roads. As Andy said in his opening remarks, moving towards zero deaths on New Jersey's roads is our first priority. The Strategic Highway Safety Plan recognizes the value and incorporates best practices of other zero fatality initiatives, such as Vision Zero and Road to Zero. All three of these initiatives are built on the principles of not accepting the loss of any life, designing a transportation system that accounts for human error, and prioritizing safety over other goals. The goal, objectives, and strategies and action plans for the pedestrian and bicyclist emphasis area are addressing a pedestrian and bicycle traffic fatality and serious injury trend that is heading in the wrong direction. In recognition of these increases, the team of planners, engineers, advocates, and local officials who are involved in this emphasis area worked to create strategies that are strongly action-focused. The Bike Ped emphasis area team developed 18 strategies and actions to implement over the next 5 years. Implementation relies on coordination with other teams and partners. I want to highlight a few of the strategies. One of the priority actions for bicyclists and pedestrians is the establishment of a DOT-supported Complete Streets Task Force to focus on identifying best practices for Complete Streets implementation at state, county, and local levels, improving integration of Complete Streets in all projects, state, county, and municipal, and compiling lessons learned and establishing a culture of safety in New Jersey. Let's stop to take a quick poll. Has your town adopted a Complete Streets policy?
Okay, give me a second. I'm going to get the poll set up. All right. So, get the right poll here. There we go. So the poll you should have in front of you is has your municipality adopted Complete Streets policy? Yes, my municipality has adopted one. No, my municipality does not have an adopted policy. My municipality is working on adopting a policy, or I'm really not sure. So thank you for your answers. We'll keep the poll open for a little bit. Ooh, we're getting some good answers here. I'm always impressed with anybody who knows if their town has a municipal Complete Streets policy. Okay, I think we're about at the end of this poll. I don't see any more new answers coming in. So I'm going to share the results. So 37% says yes, their municipality does have an adopted municipal Complete Streets policy. 25% no, they do not. 6% that municipalities are working on them and 31% not sure. So especially for those who are not sure, there is a website through the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center that lists all the known and published complete streets policies in New Jersey. So you can just Google New Jersey complete streets policies and it should pop up for you if you're not sure. And if you know of a policy and it's not on our list, please reach out to us at the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center, and we would love to add it to our map and to our list. Okay. So on that note, we'll move on. Thanks, Elise.
Thank you, Leanne. Okay, if you're not familiar, which I doubt, but complete streets policies requires road engineering and design projects to consider the mobility needs of all roadway users and all travel modes, including pedestrians, cyclists, and transit users, and travelers of all ages and abilities. In many ways, New Jersey is a success story for complete streets policies. The New Jersey Department of Transportation adopted a statewide policy in 2009. And in the last 10 plus years, 169 towns and 8 counties have passed their own policies. So that was our first action item. Another priority action is to investigate tools for speed reduction and driver accountability. In coordination with 2 other emphasis area teams, other vulnerable road users and driver behavior, this team is assessing current practices nationally for first, automated speed enforcement in school and work zones, and second, a vulnerable road user law. As part of this process, they are identifying the benefits of these practices and the barriers faced by other states when implementing them in order to inform an approach in New Jersey. The team is currently working on a literature review and setting up interviews with other states, and some of you may have noticed that a bill was advanced for a vulnerable road user law last week or the week before. So that's something that we're very excited about, and we plan to follow that very closely. A third action team is reviewing design guidance related to bicycling and walking, and will be developing and recommending strategies to educate stakeholders on best practices, not just in the technical guidance, but also in how to get designers to use it. This action team is working to identify gaps in the current NJDOT roadway design manual and to better understand how current complete streets design guidance resources, such as the Complete Streets Design Guide, the School Zone Design Guide, and the recently released Planning for Greenways guidebook are being used. Each of these guides are a compilation of best practice at the time that they were developed. All right, time for another question. Have you seen the Street Smart campaign?
Yes, thank you. Let me set up the second poll. These are the pictures from Street Smart, and we're going to launch the poll, so keep those in mind. Okay, so have you seen the New Jersey Street Smart campaign? Yes, these look familiar. No, I don't recall seeing it, or I'm not sure. Oh, good. We have a lot of people answering quickly. I love it. Everybody's on the ball and awake. I love it. Got to leave it open for another second. Let's see if we can get. Come on, a couple more people you can answer. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end polling. All right, so Elise, the good news is it looks like 63, sorry, I was about to read that backwards, 63% say yes, this looks familiar. Another 33% say I don't recall seeing it, and a couple people basically said they're not sure. So there you go, that's good to know.
It is good to know, and it's going to inform the next action that we have in the bicycle pedestrian emphasis area. Street Smart is a public awareness and behavioral change pedestrian safety campaign. Since its creation in 2013, more than 160 communities have participated in the program. Street Smart emphasizes educating drivers and pedestrians through mass media, as well as with targeted enforcement. Police officers focus on engaging and educating rather than simply issuing citations. The campaign is coordinated by the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority and is supported with federal and state funds, with additional funding and in-kind contributions from local partners. In coordination with the Equity Emphasis Area team, we are developing a strategy for performance-based implementation of the Street Smart campaign at all jurisdictional levels across the state. Pedestrian safety at bus and transit stops is another priority concern, especially in environmental justice or overburdened communities. Another one of our priority actions is to identify high usage transit stops and stations with high numbers of bicycle and pedestrian crashes in areas of transportation inequity. The goal for this action is to develop a methodology for prioritizing locations for bicycle and pedestrian improvements, to provide recommendations and develop an implementation plan. Overburdened communities are places where at least 35% of the households qualify as low income. At least 40% of the residents identify as minority, and or at least 40% of the households have limited English proficiency. A few additional strategies in the SHSP and other emphasis areas include developing a safety culture education program for K-12 and higher education students who walk or bike to school, and to develop pedestrian and bicyclist educational programs focused on teachers, parents, and volunteers at elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. Another one is exploring ways to increase safety enforcement in school zones and high volume crosswalk locations with recurring crashes. Finally, in the SHSP, we identified strategies that consider equities related to bike and ped crashes. Part of the equity actions includes using data to identify and assess high-risk bike ped safety locations in underserved communities and provide recommendations to improve local government's awareness of pedestrian and bicyclist infrastructure grant opportunities, of which there are many in New Jersey. To read the full Strategic Highway Safety Plan, you can visit the website at saferoadsforallnj.com. So the 2020 Strategic Highway Safety Plan makes us aware that we have a lot of work to do to bring down fatalities and serious injuries on New Jersey roadways. The good news is that there are already a lot of resources and tools available to help us understand and address the safety concerns in our communities. Let me tell you about some of them. First, if you don't know, my office is made up of a team of experts on bicycle and pedestrian issues. We are small but mighty. We conduct reviews of all projects on state roads for compliance with the department's Complete Streets policy, and we play a role in state, regional, county, and local projects that have bicycle and pedestrian components. We also assist with the distribution of federal funds through transportation alternatives set aside and Safe Routes to School grants managed by NJDOT's Division of Local Aid. My office also supports and oversees two resource centers, the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Resource Center and the New Jersey Safe Routes Resource Center. Both are housed at the Voorhees Transportation Center at Rutgers University. The centers were established to assist public officials, transportation and health professionals, and the general public with creating a safer and more accessible walking and bicycling environment through primary research, education, and dissemination of information about best practices in policy and design. They perform outreach through the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Council, the Ambassadors in Motion program, the regional Safe Routes coordinators, and training through presentations at meetings and conferences, like the ones at this week's Bike and Walk Summit and Safe Routes Academy. New Jersey also has 8 transportation management associations that cover all 21 counties in the state. Staff within the TMAs are available to help with initiatives that support bicycling and walking, including safe routes programs and events, developing school travel plans, and assistance with adopting complete streets policies and applying for grants. And their assistance is free to New Jersey communities. The NJDOT Bureau of Safety, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Programs also offers a local planning assistance program, which pairs communities with on-call consultants to develop plans which ultimately will result in projects that improve conditions for walking and biking. To date, we have funded plans in over 100 towns and counties through this program. Examples include bicycle and pedestrian circulation studies, pedestrian safety assessments, trail feasibility studies, bikeway plans, and crosswalk improvement plans. I'm often asked for examples of the type and size of our local planning assistance studies. So here are a couple. One of the types of plans our on-call consultants develop is a bicycle and pedestrian circulation plan. These identify safety concerns, missing links, and strategies for implementation. Plans include a public engagement process developed in consultation with the municipality. Metuchen, for one, is currently implementing facilities based on this DOT-funded bicycle and pedestrian plan. Other examples are regional trail and greenway studies, like the September 11th National Memorial Trail that will link the planned and existing memorial sites at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the Flight 93 National Memorial, and the New Jersey connection for the East Coast Greenway, which is the nation's longest connected biking and walking route stretching from Maine to Florida. For the East Coast Greenway, New Jersey DOT provided $100,000 to fund a New Jersey feasibility study back in 2005 and constructed a trail along the Trenton waterfront. Burlington County received $350,000 from the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission to perform final scoping of the route in New Jersey. Most of the trail, which here is Delaware River Heritage Trail, was constructed by county and municipal agencies with federal and state funding. Some of the most recent portions have been funded through our local aid programs. They cross US Route 130, both at grade and via an underpass along the former Kincora Branch Railroad. All of these different grant programs and entities work together to make this happen. As many of you know, grant funding opportunities at New Jersey DOT are divided into state-funded programs and federally funded programs. Counties are eligible to apply for state county aid and for all of the federal funding programs. And paving projects and bridge projects funded with county aid can also stripe crosswalks, shoulders, and other infrastructure to support complete streets. For more information, make sure you sign up for the Tips and Strategies for Successful Grant Applications Safe Routes Academy session on Friday morning from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. At the end of May, our Division of Local Aid announced that the grant solicitation period for the 2022 Safe Routes to School program is open, with applications being accepted from May 25th through October 14th, 2021. Over the next 4 months, the team at the Safe Routes Resource Center will conduct webinar trainings on how to apply for these federal funds. Staff from the NJDOT Local Aid Office will be available to answer your grant application questions at these webinars. Please help spread the word about these. I highly recommend that municipalities that want to apply for funding attend these sessions. You can register through the saferoutesnj.org website. You can also find more information at the NJDOT Local Aid Resource Center, which assists communities with project planning, grant applications, project delivery, guidance through the federal process, and more. This is always a good place to start for all NJDOT grant information, and they have a help desk for questions. Visit njdotlocaladrc.com. So thank you for attending this session, and thank you to everyone who was a part of the Bike and Pedestrian Emphasis Area team working on each strategy and action for the New Jersey Strategic Highway Safety Plan. Your work is invaluable. I would also like to thank my colleagues at New Jersey DOT for their support and their presentations in this session. A huge thanks to the staff at the New Jersey Safe Routes Resource Center at Rutgers and Civic Eye Collaborative for hosting this session. And finally, thank you to the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition for their partnership in helping us to bring this and other Safe Routes Academy sessions to you. I'm now going to turn this over to Leanne Von Hagen and Catherine Bull at the Safe Routes Resource Center for Q&A.
Thanks, Elise. Very nice. So earlier, during the registration process, people were given the opportunity to submit questions as they registered for this session. So, and we received a few questions as the session was progressing. So I'm going to go through some of those questions to start our Q&A off. But if anybody does have any further questions, please go ahead and submit them in the Q&A. Look for that little icon at the bottom of your screen. So first off, excellent job, everybody. It was really helpful to go through and hear more about the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. Our first question is, will there be any more safety summits?
New Jersey DOT anticipates holding safety summits annually, but at this point, nothing has been scheduled. We are working on just getting all these actions started and coming up with some results by the end of the year.
Great, okay. Next question was, will information on progress, will that be available to the public?
Yes. As we move forward, we plan to post accomplishments on the Safe Roads for All NJ.com website. We are tracking progress on every single action for every single team, and we will be generating reports.
Oh, great. Okay. And is there a chance to participate if you've not been involved yet?
Yeah, I think Khalid mentioned that. Absolutely. We are always looking for additional assistance, and we value different perspectives. Please reach out to any of us by email or through the Safe Roads for boy, too many of these. Safe Roads for All NJ.com website, and we will be happy to include you.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you.
Okay, I got a tougher one for you, I gotta say. I hope you have a crystal ball, but this question is, when will we get to 0 deaths?
Not soon enough. If we reach the official SHSP goal of 3% per year reduction in fatalities, it's going to take over 100 years to get to 0 based on a straight line extrapolation. But that's just the official report, chart and everything. We believe that better infrastructure design and advancements in vehicle technology are going to accelerate our progress here. And our official goal there doesn't factor in those type of advancements. Okay.
Yeah, not soon enough, I think, is always the answer in general. Okay. So this is another tough question. How many fatalities and serious injuries does 3% per year mean?
We know this.
Okay.
Okay, so a 3% reduction translates to 17 fewer fatalities and 76 fewer serious injuries per year.
Is that just bicycle and pedestrian fewer, or that's just for that emphasis area, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, sadly not enough, but it is at least something that's a goal to get to, because I think, as you said, some of our recent statistics haven't been so good. Okay. The next questions. Oh, this is a good one. How has the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, how is it addressing people with disabilities?
Well, the SHSP recognizes that having an equitably safe transportation system includes ensuring that full consideration is provided to people with disabilities. Now, as we noted previously, we have established an equity emphasis area team, and it's their job to ensure that all the SHSP strategies and actions are fully considering underserved communities, and that includes people with disabilities. So we have reached out to a lot of organizations representing those with disabilities so that they can participate, but we would love to hear from more people in this community. So if anyone can help with that, we'd appreciate it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think that is definitely true, because that covers a broad range of people and constituents that do use the roadway system and would probably like to have a say. Okay. Here's another question. Will the Strategic Highway Safety Plan be promoting stronger enforcement such as red light running programs and the vulnerable road user law? And that does go with another question about how do I find out about the proposed vulnerable road user law, and can ordinary people help advocate it for it? So we'll kind of combine those two.
All right. Yeah, this one was a tricky one when we first proposed it, but the SHSP actions, they include background research on issues like red light running enforcement and vulnerable road user laws to see how other states are implementing them, since we don't have it in New Jersey. But the SHSP itself will not advocate legislation. The SHSP stakeholders, they represent a wide variety of interest groups. Each have their own mission and goals. The research performed as part of the SHSP will enable those who are in a position to advocate for safety to do so with the best information available. But it will not, the plan itself will not advocate one way or the other. We will just be doing the research and getting it out to everybody who participated.
So do you think ordinary people can advocate for it?
Oh gosh, yes, please do. But I won't say that officially, but as the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator, I see that these two things have benefited other states, and we'll have to see what the research says, but I do think we're going to find that there are a lot of benefits, and perhaps we should be advocating for it here in the state.
Great. Okay. I think as far as the question about how do you find out about the proposed vulnerable road user law, and I think it's actually not called that. It really is called a 4-foot passing law that's been introduced as a bill into the legislature.
Okay.
Some of the advocates, like the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition, is a great place to start. So you're here at the Bike Walk Coalition conference. Deb Kagan, Lauren Rushing, who are part of the Bike and Walk Coalition, they are keeping an eye on and advocating for laws that do help people walk and bike more safely. So they would be a good resource to tap into.
Yeah, they have worked really, really hard for many, many years on this. So they are the best source of information, and their website, I know, has it.
Right. Okay. Can you explain more about the equity team and how they're pursuing or promoting equity in the plan, especially any sort of perimeters or other sort of metrics they're using?
This is kind of a tough one. I can't wrap my head around it most of the time, but the equity team is taking the lead on providing guidance to the other teams on how to integrate equity with crash data and other information. So yes, there's guidance on establishing clear parameters so that we have a consistent approach across all the SHSP strategies and actions. One example would be to establish threshold income levels to be used for analysis. The equity team is also developing strategies for outreach to underserved populations to encourage and support them in pursuing available funding to improve safety in their communities, because as we've seen in the past, some of the places that need the help the most have the most difficulty applying for and implementing the grants. Beyond the actions that they lead, the equity team also has liaisons to all the other action teams to ensure consistency across the plan. That's my understanding.
All right. We have just a couple minutes left, so I'm going to try and get to as many questions as we can. But does New Jersey, one of the questions that came in is, does New Jersey have bicycle and pedestrian safety guidelines? And then you did cover this a little bit in your presentation, so I think it can be quick.
Well, if you're talking about design guidelines, I mean, we have a complete streets design guide, but things have been changing so rapidly, it probably needs a bit of an update. And one of the actions in the SHSP is to find best current practice in bike ped design across the country and add it to our design guides here in New Jersey, and then make sure we make people aware of it and get them to use it.
Do you have a best course of action a town can do that hasn't passed a complete streets policy to kind of get off the fence?
Well, you can always look at our complete and green streets model policy and guide. That's on the NJDOT website. Leanne, I think it's.
Well, I always like to say the 8 New Jersey TMAs which are the Transportation Management Associations, are also partly funded through Department of Transportation, Elisa's group, and do help provide guidance on that too. So if you haven't already brought in your regional TMA coordinator, you can reach out to us or go on saferoutesnj.org to find out who is the representative in your area. And then also we've got our Bike Walk Coalition that were part of the summit. They also are good advocates who can talk to towns about complete streets policies and have worked to help many towns pass complete and now complete and green streets policies. So that's a good question. Let's see, we have a couple more. So this one might be a little, we're actually we are at time. I will ask this one really quick question though. Basically, do you think the work of the pedestrian bicycle emphasis area can be completed in 5 years?
That depends on how you look at it. There's always more work to do, but the bike ped emphasis area team came up with almost 18 actions. The core group for the SHSP selected 5 to start with, and these will definitely be completed in the next 5 years. Bike ped has the largest group of stakeholders, no surprise to me, and they are very dedicated people. My office also has 3 on-call consultants and the Bike Ped Resource Center assisting with research and drafting documents. So many of the bike ped actions are really moving. And once an action is complete, then the results are shared. We can consider moving on to another action. Things are happening. So I'm confident that we can.
Excellent. I'm happy to help. And I know a lot of people on this call, we saw the registration list, are also part of this team and part of the action. And so I think it's whatever we can do to help the department and meet these goals. Well, we are out of time. In fact, we're a little bit over. So I just want to thank you all for giving this presentation today and being part of the Safe Routes Academy. And thank to everybody who's attended today. If you didn't get your question answered, we did try and get to so many of them. You were really fantastic with submitting questions ahead of time. So you can always reach out to us at the Safe Routes Resource Center or individually to the folks at DOT who are here today. And we'll try and get some of your questions answered. But in the meantime, when this session ends, you are going to be prompted to take a short survey that we would really appreciate you give us some feedback about this session, the whole academy, and the conference in general. So thank you for taking your time to fill out that survey in advance. And thank you to our panelists today. And I hope to see you again at the 4 o'clock session and then the rest of the Safe Routes Academies and Bike Walk sessions for the rest of this week. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.